Hey everyone, it's me. And it's been like 2 years since I've made a video. And this is not going to be any type of video I've done in my past. Right now it is February 16th. It has been about almost a month since Trump has become president of the United States of America. And for many, this is a very, very, very scary and difficult time. And I just wanted to share what I'm doing to help myself through this situation and maybe give some advice to those of you who may feel stuck or paralyzed, because this is not normal times. So if you are not feeling this way about our country right now, this video is not for you. This video is simply for those who already know that we're about to enter a fascism stint of our American history. And for those who are feeling pretty terrified or who are really coming to terms with the fact that this is potentially slipping away, then this video is for you. And I'm not doing this in any way because I feel like I am some kind of expert or I've lived through fascism before in my life, because obviously not obviously, but I have not. But I simply just feel that it's sometimes powerful to share ways that are helping one person so that maybe it can help another. And that is simply all I'm trying to do here. About 2 weeks ago, it really freaking hit me that this is what our country's slipping into, and the realities of it were pretty evident to me. I understood from my history, from my time in the past, I've understood from my education what happens when countries slip into fascism. And part of what I did at that time was I just started to absorb information. I came across a politics girl who had this lady on named Amanda, who's from Gaslit Nation, which is a podcast, and they have a website and all that great stuff. But this woman has lived through fascism in her life, and she was sharing with us her view, and her whole family has lived through this, and her perspective on this was just eye-opening. And she very much said, these are literally the things that have happened in the countries she's lived in the past, so that her family is from, and that we better open our eyes, and that half of our country is gaslit right now into thinking that this is for the better of the country, when she's saying that it's not, and that we better grieve democracy now so that we can fight for it. Because if we don't grieve the loss of it, which is essentially what's happening right now, then we can't fight for it. So it was terrifying thinking about that and actually absorbing it. And really, you just look at the world. It's so clear and evident. But anyways, so I am the type of person that when this crap happens, I'll initially start to feel upset and difficult, but I know that if I make a plan and if I can at least get a gist, it doesn't mean that this plan is going to work 100%. It doesn't mean it's foolproof. It doesn't mean anything. But if I have a plan and I can direct my energies towards something, then I'm going to be so much better off. So what I did is, that's literally what I did. I came up with a plan. And here I used some things from the Gaslit Nation website, and then just some things I've learned in life too. But here are this is my basic plan for fascism defeat. So I have 6 steps to fight fascism. Just kidding. No, but first and foremost, my first step, and this might sound similar if you've watched my Fox in the Garden channel, where I talk about sustainability and living a sustainable life. In many ways, this parallels. Because what are you doing? You're trying to sustain yourself, but fight fascism. So the first and foremost thing that I'm committing to myself and in my plan is to stay healthy. So I'm going to make sure that I'm staying fit. So my workout plan right now just focuses a lot on weightlifting and endurance, and being able, I also started Tang Soo Do, which is a not mixed martial arts. It's a Korean martial art, and I used to do it back in my 20s. So 20 years later, I'm starting with my daughter actually, and And that's just going to kind of get me in that mentality and get me back into shape for such things, because it's very physically demanding, and I just want to be ready. You never know when it might just become a lawless world and you might be literally fighting for your life. So it's always good to be prepared, right? I'm going to make sure that I'm eating well, although that's kind of been a struggle lately, but eating well, staying fit are one of my priorities. Priority number one. Priority number two is my security. So things I have done for my security, because we are in a digital age and our digital life might be compromised, and our financial systems might be compromised, and our physical safety in our house might be compromised. So one of the things I did was I went and made sure I had a VPN for all of my digital devices. I have it for my computer, for my phones, and then I also made sure that I have some type of gun in the house. I know that sounds maybe extreme for some, but something is better than nothing, and to know how to use that gun is important too. And maybe a gun's not your thing, but it's just one element you could add to it. I'm also going to put a security camera on my house. I kind of went back and forth on that one, but I think it's important that I can see and have evidence of what could occur in my house or what occurs when I'm not here. I'm also planning to beef up my emergency equipment. So I'm making sure that I have heat when there's a power outage, or they decide to just shut down power to our country. You never know, could happen. I have some backup food supplies. I'm starting to keep more of a stocked, like a pretty big stocked pantry. Like I've started to go to Azure Standard and get bigger bulk food items. I've redone my pantry so that I have more space in there. Well, I've created a pantry actually, because it was just a laundry room with shelves that had like hodgepodge things on it. But now it's actually a pantry where I keep the bulk food items. So yeah, it's just being prepared for a situation. You never know what's going to happen. Like it's a matter of control. So also having the garden that I've always had gives me that freedom to be able to grow my own food. It could come to a point where you can't trust your food supply. It's one way that they've controlled people in the past. So being able to produce and have your own food is very important in this situation. So thankfully, I've spent all these years gardening, and I can finally, it might come down to the real deal. So I'm just going to keep honing that skill. I'm going to probably start to learn more and really make an effort to start saving my own seeds. I've also went and made sure that all of my personal documents are up to date. I made sure all my daughter's birth certificate, social security card, all of that is up to date. I realized I don't have a copy of my birth certificate, so I need to go get that. I'm gonna get all of my paperwork together and in one spot, my passport, everything. I'm gonna get my daughter a passport, because you never know when you might need to leave. There's just a lot to think about. All of these things, you can take small actions every day to protect yourself. And even when you think you're not doing something you don't know what to do, these small actions to keep yourself safe or to keep somebody else safe are what you can do. And to keep yourself healthy and secure. So anything along those lines, just think about that. What are some ways that you can protect yourself to keep yourself safe? Maybe there's things that I'm not even thinking of that you can share with me and tell me. The other thing that's very important, and I'm really gathering this from a lot of sources in my life, but creating community around you, knowing that the people who you are around are safe and that they are also in the same boat, that they feel the same way and would support you through this. And then also having some type of spirituality in your life, some connection to nature or a greater, bigger picture, and remembering why we're all here, and having a deep, firm foundation in your connection to this world and connection to other people. That is something that I struggle with in a little bit. I don't have a ton of community. I do have more community than I realize, but just recognizing it maybe and being comfortable having community and building that if you don't. And then also spirituality. If that's not something you're familiar with, just find something you can connect to. I definitely find my connection to nature, and finding that bigger picture there. And I was a philosophy major, and so it's easy enough for me to find that one. But it may not be for you or for anyone else. But it's more important than you realize. It's what's going to get you through if something were to happen. Number 4, keep yourself informed. Find reliable news sources that are accredited and that have good information. Subscribe to a few news channels, different ones, like maybe a local newspaper. Subscribe to maybe a national one, and then maybe like an off, like not on. Subscribe to maybe a private news or like a Substack or something, because our news may become compromised at some point. That is one of the first things they do, is they are going to manipulate your news sources. Actually, they're already doing it. And then, but also having paper formats of these to keep track, because you never know when they might digitally wipe and destroy the evidence of what's happened from our newspapers in the past. So if they're all digital, then we're not going to have record of it for the past, or you might need those things to remind you of how this has all happened. So just a few different ways to keep yourself informed. We want to make sure there's so many things that have happened in these first couple of weeks that it is hard to keep up with, but we need to keep a pulse on it so we know, because we don't want to sweep this stuff under. It can be overwhelming and paralyzing. And for some people, you might need to turn yourself away, but you do need to keep yourself informed. That is really freaking important. You also want to stay educated, and read books about this stuff, and keep paper copies of these books. That's another thing that was suggested from Gaslit Nation, is that, again, these things, if we're just reading digital formats, they can be erased. If we have the actual book, then that's great. One book I'm reading right now is called Nexus, and it's by Yuval Harari, and it's called Nexus, and it's this wonderful, it's not wonderful really, it's terrifying, but he does an amazing job. He's a historian and philosopher. He does an amazing job at walking you through the history of fascism and democracies, and how they're so interconnected to each other, and how one can easily slip into the other, and how it has done it in the past, and how our information technologies have gotten us to where we're at. I haven't finished this book, but it's supposed to end in AI and how this is all connected. That is my dog whining because she wants to come in here with me. So making a really good book list that doesn't overwhelm you. Maybe like one thing that I used to do is I would go from like one type of book. So I might do like a personal wellness book, and then I would do like a spiritual book, and then I would do a fiction book. But keeping up with like printed things, and with like accredited, amazing people who write these books and can inform and educate us are important. And last but not least is find ways to take action. And that can be as simple as writing your senators and your Congress people and your representatives in the government. It could be attending protests. It could be attending and keeping yourself up to date on Senate phone calls. Like a lot of your representatives will have town hall meetings, and they're usually virtual these days, so they'll help you there, keeping you informed of what the government is doing. Writing newspapers and informing them of maybe things that they're not covering. Like I just wrote newspapers all about the SAVE Act, which really is still not being covered. It has a huge impact. Go research it. I'm not going to talk about it now. But getting in with a few of the places, like few volunteer movements like Move On, or activist movements, I should say. So Move On, Indivisible, and Common Cause are 3 different types of activist organizations, I guess. And so hook up with all their newspapers. They're going to send stuff out. They're going to have phone calls or virtual meetings where they're going to talk about all the stuff that they're working on, how you can help. They'll give you information about protests. They'll give you action calls to do. You can do all kinds of stuff. The more you start to dive into it, the more stuff will start to come to you. But I try to attend every local protest I possibly can. I try to bring other people. I go with a group. There's also a lot of protest safety to think about too, so I encourage you to research that. But just finding even the smallest ways to help, like I said, calling senators, writing letters, talking to people, being a voice, being heard right now is really important. We don't want to stop using our voices about this. This stuff is extremely important. We need to get the word out. But I am not going to sit there and argue with people about whether or not this is happening. This is freaking happening. And if you can't believe it, then I can't really help you. And I'm just going to move on and make my way towards where my energies are really worth going. So I'm sorry if this video is a little hodgepodgey and rambly and things, but I'm just doing this because I feel like it's just worth sharing. It helps me actually to talk about it. And I think what I'll do is I'm just gonna kind of like give an update on the things I've done week to week, maybe, or maybe every couple of weeks, or the actions I've taken. I'm not gonna talk about actions I'm going to take because that's unsafe. So, and if this ever gets to a point where, and I don't know if I'm going to totally commit to this, but it's just an idea. But if that gets to a point where it becomes unsafe, I am going to shut this down and we'll find another way to make crap happen. So, if you are listening to me all the way through this, thank you. Please, I just want to share what I'm doing. And if you want to share anything with me and things that you're doing, I would love it. It would help me too. Thank you so much. Have a great day.